The breaking point. Commander Maya Chen stood at the viewport of Epsilon Prime's central hub, watching the distant stars with narrowed eyes. Behind her, the colony's operations center hummed with activity, dozens of humans working at stations that controlled everything from atmospheric regulation to defense systems. Through the massive windows, the terraformed surface of Epsilon Prime stretched out. Once barren rock, now fields of golden wheat and blue-green earth crops feeding billions across 17 star systems. Another demand from the Confederation. Commander, Lieutenant Reyes said, approaching with a datapad. They want to increase our agricultural output by 30% without additional compensation or resource allocation. Maya took the datapad, scrolling through the formal diplomatic language that barely disguised what it really was. Another squeeze on humanity's resources. The Galactic Confederation, an alliance of 28 spacefaring species, had welcomed humans into their fold 60 years ago, when Earth first developed viable FTL travel. Welcomed was the diplomatic term. Exploited would be more accurate. Same terms as always, Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Yes, Commander. They cite the Protection Treaty as justification, claiming their defensive fleets require additional resources to maintain security in our sector. Maya set down the datapad with deliberate care. The Protection Treaty had been signed when humanity was still new to the galactic stage, desperate for allies in a cosmos teeming with established civilizations. They'd learned too late what the treaty really meant: humanity providing innovation, labor and resources, while receiving scraps in return. Send the request to Earth Central with my personal notation. This is the third demand this quarter. Maya turned back to the viewport, her reflection grim in the reinforced glass. And send me the latest security feed from the Confederation Embassy. I want to see what our allies are discussing behind closed doors. 2 hours later, Maya sat alone in her secure office, watching a holographic recording she wasn't supposed to have. The Confederation's ambassador to Epsilon Prime, a tall, mantis-like thrall named Ambassador Kestik, was speaking to several other alien representatives. The humans' genetic adaptability makes them exceptional problem solvers. Kestik was saying, mandibles clicking in what Maya had learned was amusement, but their emotional nature and stubborn independence remains problematic. The Central Council believes it's time to implement Phase 3 of the Integration Protocol. A Voxian representative, blue-skinned with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, leaned forward. Phase 3 includes neural compliance measures, correct? This seems premature. If the humans discover— They won't, Kestik interrupted. Their technological monitoring capabilities remain restricted as per Treaty Subsection 47. The compliance measures will be introduced gradually through their water filtration systems. Within a standard cycle, human independence will be tempered. Their productivity will increase by an estimated 60% while reducing governance costs by half. Maya stopped the recording, her hands shaking with fury. Neural compliance, a polite term for species-wide mind control. She activated her secure channel to Earth Central, authorization code Omega-7. Get me Admiral Lakshmi Singh. Now. The emergency summit convened 3 days later in the underground chambers beneath Old Geneva. Leaders from every human colony and Earth's united government sat around a massive circular table. Admiral Singh stood at the center, her weathered face grim as she played Maya's recording for the assembly. When it finished, the room erupted into angry shouts and pounding fists. Silence. President Adeyemi's voice cut through the chaos. The Nigerian woman who had led Earth for 7 years raised her hands. We've suspected something like this for years. Commander Chen has provided the proof we needed. We should strike first, General Martinez argued. Hit their central worlds before they can implement this compliance program. Admiral Singh shook her head. A direct military confrontation would be catastrophic. The Confederation outnumbers us significantly. But she tapped her datapad, bringing up a complex network diagram on the room's main display. They've grown dependent on us in ways they don't fully understand. The diagram showed humanity's integration into galactic infrastructure. Human engineers running Confederation shipyards, human agricultural specialists managing food production on 17 worlds, human medical researchers developing treatments for cross-species diseases, human navigators piloting the most complex routes through disputed territories. Project Exodus, Singh continued. We've been developing it for 15 years. The coordinated withdrawal of all human personnel, technology, and support from Confederation space. They'll never allow it, someone called out. The treaties. Actually, said Eiko Nakamura, Earth's chief legal counsel for interstellar affairs, they will. Section 12. Paragraph 4 of the Alliance Charter permits any species to withdraw with immediate effect if they can demonstrate systematic discrimination or treaty violations. We have compiled over 5,000 documented instances. President Adeyemi stood, commanding the room's attention. The question before us is simple. Do we continue as glorified servants to the Confederation, knowing they plan to strip away even our free will? Or do we reclaim our independence and show the galaxy what humanity truly represents? The vote was unanimous. 2 weeks later, Ambassador Michael Okafor stood before the Confederation's Grand Assembly on their capital world of Thalaxia Prime. Representatives of all 28 member species filled the vast chamber, their evolutionary differences on full display. From the methane-breathing Goks in their sealed environments to the crystalline Lithorians who communicated through light patterns. Distinguished representatives, Michael began, his voice calm and firm. For 60 years, humanity has been a loyal member of this confederation. We have shared our innovations, fought in your conflicts, healed your sick, and fed your worlds. He paused, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible before continuing. In return, we have been systematically underpaid, excluded from critical decisions, and now. He activated a holographic display showing the recording from the Epsilon Prime Embassy, targeted for neural compliance without our knowledge or consent. The chamber erupted. Some representatives shouted denials. Others sat in stunned silence. The Threll delegation began a high-pitched keening that their translation devices couldn't properly interpret. High Counselor Zreltak, the ancient Voxian who led the Confederation Council, rose from his elevated seat. These accusations are outrageous. That recording is clearly doctored. We have submitted 5,237 documented violations of the Alliance Charter to the Interstellar Judiciary Commission. Michael interrupted, nodding to his assistant who activated another display showing the official filing. As per Section 12, Paragraph 4, humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Confederation, effective immediately. The chamber fell silent. You cannot do this, Zreltak finally said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. The economic disruption is not our concern, Michael replied. As of this moment, all human personnel are being recalled from Confederation worlds and facilities. All human technology licenses are revoked. All human agricultural exports will cease. On cue, every human in the chamber, diplomats, assistants, translators, security personnel, stood as one and began walking toward the exits. You're bluffing, called out the Threll ambassador, mandibles clicking in agitation. Humans are integrated throughout our systems. You'd be cutting your own supply lines. Michael turned at the door, the last human to leave the chamber. For 15 years, we've been preparing for independence, Kestik. Unlike you, we planned ahead. As the doors closed behind him, Michael could hear the chamber descending into chaos. Across the galaxy, Operation Exodus unfolded with military precision. On the massive shipyards of Telos IV, Chief Engineer Sarah Mbiki received the coded message on her secure implant. Without hesitation, she gathered her team of 300 human engineers. Emergency recall, everyone. Grab your personals and report to Docking Bay, 7 in 30 minutes. The Telesian administrator, a reptilian being named Orcs, rushed after her as she headed for her quarters. "What is this about, Chief Mbeki? We have 6 Confederation cruisers in critical stages of assembly. Check your feeds, Orcs. Humanity has withdrawn from the Confederation." She continued packing her essential tools. "You'll find complete documentation for basic maintenance in the central database. The advanced systems," she shrugged. "Those we developed ourselves. Those go with us. But you can't just leave. The yards will collapse without human engineers." Sarah paused, looking at the alien she'd worked alongside for 7 years. "You should have thought of that before planning to drug us into compliance." On 17 agricultural worlds, similar scenes played out. Human specialists deactivated their proprietary equipment, packed their specially developed seed stocks, and headed for pre-positioned evacuation ships. In research facilities, hospitals, navigation centers, defense outposts, humans quietly but firmly walked away from their posts, taking their unique knowledge and innovations with them. Some Confederation officials tried to stop them. Of course. On Procyon Beta, the local governor ordered his security forces to detain the human medical team that had been fighting a virulent plague. The humans activated emergency protocols, defensive technology they'd kept hidden for years, and walked through the stunned security forces without firing a shot. At first, many Confederation officials were dismissive. "Let them go," High Counselor Zreltak announced in an emergency broadcast. "The Confederation thrived for millennia before humans arrived. We will adapt." But within hours, the first systems began to fail. On Thalaxia Prime itself, the capital's power grid fluctuated wildly as automated systems tried to compensate for the sudden absence of human technicians who had maintained the fusion reactors. The grid stabilized, but at 60% capacity. 3 major shipping lanes reported navigation buoys going offline, stranding dozens of cargo vessels afraid to jump without proper guidance. On Mercator Station, the galaxy's largest trading hub, financial markets plummeted as investors realized how many corporations depended on human technology licenses and expertise. And in the military headquarters of the Confederation Defense Force, alarms began to sound as ship after ship reported propulsion systems operating at reduced efficiency. The human-designed graviton stabilizers that gave their engines superior performance were shutting down, limiting them to basic functions only. The exodus had begun. The reckoning would follow. The reckoning. Admiral Vikram Khatri stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, Earth's largest warship, watching the holographic display that showed human ships converging on Sol from every corner of Confederation space. The exodus was proceeding faster than even their most optimistic projections. "Status report," he ordered, eyes tracking the thousands of green dots representing human vessels. Captain Diaz approached with a datapad. 97% of primary personnel have been evacuated successfully, Admiral. The remaining 3% are in contested areas, where local authorities are attempting to prevent departure. Vikram nodded. They had anticipated resistance. Deploy the rapid response teams. Authorization for Protocol Omega if necessary. Protocol Omega, the limited deployment of technologies humans had kept hidden from the Confederation. For decades, humanity had shared remarkable innovations with their alien partners while keeping the most advanced breakthroughs secret. Now those hidden technologies would ensure their people came home safely. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving priority transmissions from 17 different Confederation worlds. They're requesting emergency assistance." Vikram allowed himself a thin smile. "It's starting sooner than expected. Monitor but do not respond." The Indomitable's view screen switched to a news feed from Thalaxia Prime. The Confederation capital was experiencing rolling blackouts as their power grid continued to degrade. Without human engineers familiar with the fusion technology Earth had shared, but never fully explained, local technicians were struggling to maintain basic operations. Similar reports flooded in from across Confederation space. On Mercator Station, food distribution systems had failed completely. The human-designed logistics algorithms that efficiently move supplies through the massive habitat had been withdrawn, leaving manual systems overwhelmed. Images showed aliens standing in long lines for basic necessities, something unheard of in the wealthy trading hub. In the shipyards of Telos IV, where Chief Engineer Mbeki and her team had departed, 6 partially completed Confederation cruisers now sat abandoned. The Telesian workers, attempting to continue construction, had accidentally triggered a cascade failure in one vessel's power core. The resulting explosion had damaged 2 adjacent ships beyond repair. "They're discovering just how much they relied on us," Captain Diaz observed, "and how little they understood what we actually gave them," Vikram added. On the Confederation Council world of Proxima Centauri UI, one of the first human colony worlds that had been incorporated into the Confederation, High Counselor Zreltak was facing the greatest crisis of his 300-year political career. "What do you mean we can't contact the outer systems?" he demanded, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. The Threll Communications Minister, Kestik, clicked his mandibles anxiously. "The quantum entanglement network is failing. The human technicians implemented security protocols before departing. The system is rejecting all our override attempts. Break through them." "We've tried, Counselor. Our best cryptographers estimate it would take 11 standard years to crack their security measures." Zreltak slammed his 4-fingered hand on the conference table. Around him, representatives from the most powerful Confederation species watched in growing alarm. "The humans planned this meticulously," said Jorel Ven, the Lithorian representative whose crystalline form shimmered with agitated light patterns. "Reports indicate they've been preparing for at least 15 standard years." "Impossible," Kestik chittered. "Our intelligence services would have detected such preparations." "Would they?" asked Grelmore, the ancient Gox whose methane-breathing apparatus wheezed with each word. "We've always underestimated humans. Even as we exploited their innovations, we dismissed their potential for independent action." The emergency council chamber doors slid open, admitting a harried-looking Voxian aide who rushed to Zreltak's side, whispering urgently in his ear. The High Counselor's skin paled to a sickly blue-gray. "Confirmed reports are coming in," he announced to the assembly. 3 separate warlord factions have seized control of key transit points in the Outer Rim. With the human peacekeeping forces withdrawn. He didn't need to finish the sentence. For decades, humanity had provided the bulk of the Confederation's peacekeeping forces, their soldiers uniquely adaptable to different planetary conditions, their officers renowned for creative problem-solving. The Outer Rim had been stable largely because everyone knew humans would respond decisively to any aggression. Now that deterrent was gone. "There's more," the aide continued. "The Drexian plague on Sirius IV is spreading unchecked without the human medical teams. Projected casualties are in the millions. And the automated defense networks around 17 critical installations have gone into lockdown mode. They are not responding to Confederation override codes." The council chamber erupted into frantic arguments and accusations. Zreltak raised all 4 arms, calling for order that wouldn't come. In the chaos, Grelmore activated his private communication channel to the Gox Enclave. "Begin reaching out to Earth," he instructed his subordinates. "The Confederation is fracturing. The Gox must secure a separate agreement with the humans before others do." Similar conversations were occurring among a dozen other species as self-preservation instincts overrode Confederation loyalty. On Earth, President Adeyemi stood in the Global Command Center beneath Mount Chan, surrounded by holographic displays showing the escalating crisis across Confederation space. "The Gox have officially requested direct negotiations," her diplomatic advisor reported. "They're offering exclusive mining rights in the Barnard star system in exchange for continued human technical support. The Lithorians and Algan Collective have made similar overtures," added Foreign Secretary Okafor, recently returned from his dramatic exit from the Confederation Assembly. "They're positioning themselves as having always been friends to humanity." President Adeyemi studied the strategic display, where red indicators showed spreading instability across formerly Confederation-controlled space, and the warlords in the Outer Rim. Three major factions have emerged, Admiral Singh reported. The Krell Dominion has seized two major trade routes. The Black Star Consortium has taken control of the Epsilon Eridani transfer station. And most concerning, the Tyranny Brotherhood has captured a Confederation weapons depot on Ta City II. Casualties: minimal so far. They're primarily interested in establishing power bases, while the Confederation is in disarray. President Adeyemi nodded thoughtfully. The Confederation is learning exactly what we hoped they would, that their prosperity and security were built on human contributions they never properly valued. The question is, Admiral Singh said, how long do we let the lesson continue? Some innocent populations are suffering. Precisely why we prepared the humanitarian response teams. The President turned to her Chief of Operations. Implement Phase 2. Humanitarian aid to affected civilian populations, prioritizing medical emergencies and food shortages, but only to worlds that request assistance directly from Earth, not through Confederation channels. And the separate alliance offers. Evaluate each on its merits. Species that treated humans fairly get priority. The rest can wait until the Confederation formally acknowledges its dependence. Commander Maya Chen, whose discovery had triggered humanity's exodus, now found herself leading one of the first humanitarian missions back into Confederation space. Her ship, the EDF Mercy, was approaching Sirius IV, where the Drexian plague was devastating the local population. Incoming transmission from the planetary governor, her communications officer reported. The view screen activated, showing a haggard-looking Algan, their normally iridescent skin dull with stress. Commander Chen, thank you for responding to our distress call. The situation is dire. We've brought medical supplies and the treatment protocols your facilities need, Maya responded. Our teams are ready to establish emergency treatment centers. The Confederation Council has ordered us not to accept direct human aid, the governor said, mandibles twitching with obvious distress. They insist all assistance must go through central coordination. Maya's expression hardened. Governor, we both know what that means. Bureaucratic delays while your people suffer. My scans show over 30,000 infected individuals on your world already. I know. The Algans seem to come to a decision. The Confederation has failed us. Sirius IV formally requests Earth's direct intervention, independent of Confederation authority. Another domino falling, Maya thought. Exactly as planned. We'll begin landing operations immediately. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as the carefully orchestrated human withdrawal revealed the fundamental weakness at the heart of the Confederation. They had grown so dependent on human innovation, labor, and problem-solving that they couldn't function without it. The Krell Dominion, emboldened by the Confederation's inability to respond effectively, launched an attack on the valuable dilithium processing facilities in the Procyon system. They expected an easy victory with the human defense forces withdrawn. They were wrong. As their warships approached the seemingly defenseless facility, automated defense platforms suddenly decloaked around them. Technology far more advanced than anything the Confederation had access to. The Krell fleet was disabled without a single shot fired, their ships simply shutting down as targeted electromagnetic pulses fried their systems. From his command center on Earth, Admiral Katri watched the operation with satisfaction. Inform the Krell commander that his ships will be permitted to withdraw on emergency power once his forces surrender the captured trade routes. Message acknowledged, Admiral, the communications officer reported a few minutes later. The Krell are compliant. Similar operations were underway throughout former Confederation space as humanity revealed just how much military capability they had kept hidden. Not to conquer, but to stabilize regions where predatory factions were trying to exploit the power vacuum. Meanwhile, the humanitarian missions continued. Human medical teams treated outbreaks on 7 worlds. Human agricultural specialists helped prevent crop failures on 3 others. Human engineers stabilized critical infrastructure on major population centers. Each operation further highlighted the Confederation's failure and humanity's capabilities. Each successful mission brought more requests for direct assistance, bypassing Confederation authority altogether. 3 weeks after humanity's exodus began, High Counselor Zreltak requested a direct meeting with President Adeyemi. The Confederation was in crisis. 15 member species had already begun separate negotiations with Earth. The economy was in freefall. Infrastructure failures were cascading faster than emergency measures could address them. The meeting took place on neutral ground, Luna Base, humanity's oldest off-Earth settlement. Zreltak arrived with a minimal delegation, his once imperious demeanor replaced by the cautious humility of someone who had seen their power crumble. President Adeyemi, he began, his translator rendering his complex tonal language into English. The Confederation acknowledges that serious mistakes were made in our relationship with humanity. Mistakes, Adeyemi repeated, her tone flat. You systematically exploited our people for 6 decades. You plan to subject us to neural compliance without our knowledge. These go beyond mistakes, High Counselor. Zreltak's 4 eyes blinked in the pattern that indicated acceptance of an unpleasant truth. You are correct. There is no justification for our actions. I am authorized by the full council to offer formal apologies and reparations. Reparations are a start, Adeyemi said. But what humanity seeks is recognition, equal standing in galactic affairs. The Council is prepared to offer humanity 3 permanent seats on the High Council, with veto power on all major decisions. Admiral Singh, sitting beside the President, allowed herself a small smile. Just weeks ago, such an offer would have been unthinkable. And the Neural Compliance Program, President Adeyemi asked. Dismantled completely. All research destroyed. We will submit to verification by your intelligence services. President Adeyemi studied the alien leader for a long moment. Your proposal will be considered. But understand this. Humanity will never again place itself in a position of dependency or vulnerability. Any new relationship between Earth and the Confederation will be one of genuine equals. We have learned our lesson, Zreltak said quietly. The galaxy needs humanity more than humanity needs the galaxy. As the High Counselor departed, Admiral Singh turned to the President. He's right, you know. We could maintain our independence indefinitely now. We could, Adeyemi agreed. But isolation isn't our goal. Humanity belongs among the stars, just on our terms this time. 2 months after the Exodus began, a new galactic charter was signed. The Confederation was dissolved, replaced by the Interstellar Alliance, a true partnership of equals where technological and cultural exchange would benefit all member species. On Epsilon Prime, Commander Maya Chen watched from her viewport as the first alien delegation arrived under the new treaty terms. This time, there would be no exploitation, no hidden agendas. As the alien ship docked, Maya reflected on how quickly the galaxy had changed. The Confederation, stable for millennia, had collapsed in weeks without human support. Warlords had risen and been contained. New alliances had formed, and humanity had proven